Hey Jesus, we are just so grateful for all that you've been doing. Just in the past day that we've been here, God, we've seen so much of you, and I think that I can just say we've each felt so much of your joy and just this community. God, I just thank you that we get to worship and lift your name high among this community as well, and that we can speak boldly about our faith, and that we also can just love like no other because you loved us. Father, we love you so much, and let us glorify you with our praise tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Macarios is an incredible ministry. It combines a school, which is engaging communities that are underserved. They provide nutrition, they provide education, they provide Christ in a Christ-centered environment, they share the gospel, but they go far beyond the school. They impact families. They walk along families, and they have changed the community as the love of Christ continues to change people's hearts and to change people's lives and to change whole families. And by His grace, one day, entire communities and countries.
Hey, welcome to Macarios School. About a month ago, we were affected by a flood. We had about 11 feet of water, as you can see from this mark on the wall.
A lot of y'all know there's a flood that broke out here 2 weeks ago, and many said that this is like the hardest thing they've ever gone through because, there's water up to almost the roof of their homes, and they're looking for their children, and they had to get all their children out, and they lost a lot of things. So it's really sad just to see the trauma that happened because of that, and just how that was affecting their lives. But at the same time, it was really cool to see their faith despite that. Those who were in the Christian faith, and even those who weren't, they had a sense of hope in God, and really that only comes from the Holy Spirit. And yeah, it was hard, but it was inspiring just to see how they were able to push through and keep that hope despite really all the odds being against them.
And something that broke my heart was talking to the people after their houses were broken and everything after the flood, and just talking and asking them about did this change your testimony and stuff like that.
Something I would say that really challenged me this trip was just coming to the houses of these people and seeing the poverty and how the flood, especially how that hurt them and their stories. That really just it kind of broke my heart a little bit, but also just seeing how God works through that, how great His love is, and every single one of them we talked to talked about how much they love God still, and that wasn't challenged at all by the flood, and that just really challenged me this trip.
We went to this one woman's house named Maria, and we ended up asking her about the flood and asked her was it difficult to trust God during this time, and a lot of the times people won't answer this exact same way she did, and it truly inspired me. She said, no, there's no reason not to trust God because He knows everything, He knows why this happened, and who else would we turn to, basically. And it's one thing to hear that in the States and talk about it, but it's different when you see someone truly live out something so devastating and still at the end of it say something like that.
We're talking about the flood that has recently affected this area in the Dominican Republic and just how devastating it was. But they had this unique faith and unique hope in the Lord throughout this horrible circumstance.
They sleep every night in this home where the flood took everything that they had and could have taken their lives, but they returned to it. And one of the statements that the people said was, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, and we trust the Lord. And I thought, that's a long faith that we ran into.
Something I learned about God and His character, most specifically God's sovereignty. This week, it was a hard week to come into to see the devastation that the flood had, especially on the Dominican people and the Haitian people. And going into the houses and seeing walls torn down and everything. But one big theme that I heard that was specifically about God's character was that it was God's sovereignty and how clearly He had a plan through everything. That through everything, God protected the people.
And she shared this very powerful story of her sister was grabbing onto a power line to try and hoist herself out of the water, and the power line started electrocuting her, and within seconds the power went out in the whole community, and she was able to continue like hoisting herself out of the water. And just how amazing is it that in this mass event that was so devastating for so many people, that the Lord saw this one woman who needed help, and he turned the power off in the whole community. And I'm sure it didn't only just save this one woman, but I know that it saved so many more.
How's the juice?
10 out of 10. Really good.
Mm-hmm. Where do we just come from?
Church.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
What are you most excited about for today?
I'm excited to get to meet all the kids and hopefully do an art class. I think that'll be super fun. And I don't know if I'm on a prayer walk, but I'm excited for that whenever that happens.
One thing that kind of really hit home for me about God on this trip was that He's always at work, but we are have to really kind of train ourselves and habituate ourselves to see, pay attention, be aware, pray, and kind of just develop that muscle to really witness that, and it's available to us.
Something I've learned about God and His character during this trip are truly how perfect His plans are. I moved from California and I didn't really know very many people on the missions trip. And as we bonded and just kind of got to serve together, it was quickly realized how perfectly orchestrated the group was. Like every time I looked around, it was like, okay, those people are so gifted and getting to do ministry through just playing and having fun, while other people are just really good with their hands and really good on some of the side projects, and then other people having super great conversations and being super intentional about relationship. And I could just tell like everyone was so gifted to be where they were. And it brought me so much joy because I was like, oh my gosh, like obviously God put this group to serve this ministry for a reason, and it's so perfect, and I just saw such unity within our group. So obviously His plans are meant to unify His body, bring them together united in His purposes for us.
Something that I learned about God and His character on this trip is just the idea that there is nothing in this world that truly provides what our hearts needs, especially in the form of just being content, satisfied, that He isn't. We have a God-shaped void in our lives, and the world around us tries to push things towards that void, but I think being here and seeing just the really simple ways in which people are satisfied further solidified for me just that the Lord is the one in whom we are contented by and find hope and joy and rest and peace. And nothing that we try to fill it with, even relationships, is designed for us to find that satisfaction.
Something that made me smile was probably all the kids wanting me to give them tubby eatos. They all just wanted piggyback rides, and I was just willing to give that to them because I love them.
The joy of the people here was so, from the moment we got here, every single person we talked to is so open and wanting to talk to you and wanting to be around you and just happy, and it was just like a breath of fresh air, and I loved it.
Something that made me smile was watching my teenage boys play at the Macario school with all the little kids, to the point of completely being drenched in sweat, and bringing that out and not stopping playing, and the kids just hanging on that and going completely crazy, and just seeing their faces, enjoying that, seeing their eyes get open. That was something that really brought me a lot of joy.
Something that really made me smile every day is when we went to the Macarius school. When we would walk by classroom windows or the lunchroom or anything, the little kids would start yelling and they'd call us familia. And that was something that just totally stole my breath away, totally blew me away the first time I heard it. And then they would just say that every time they saw us for the rest of the week. And I think it really gets to the heart of what it is that we're trying to do here. In the heart of what Macarius is and what the family of God is, really, because we're all united under Jesus. And even though we look different, we have different backgrounds, we speak different languages, we were really able to connect with the kids this week because we're all one family. And I think that was really
So when we first arrived, even like every morning, all the kids would look through the blinds at us walking through and be like, familia, familia, to his family. Because when the missionaries walk by, they think they accept them as their family. And that was really good.
People welcome us different. Like, they welcome us like they are family, because all the little kids were like, hey, familia, familia. And then Chichigua, they just like welcomed us really like lovingly, like what you don't really see in other places.
The first moment I saw like the pure like joyful smile on their face. Like they ran up, like whenever we first saw them, we were walking back. They went, familia, familia. It was really sweet, and also just all the connections. Like, there was one day where I did an English class, and the kids were learning English, and so I was talking to them, and we were talking about our biggest fears, and so obviously snakes came up, because lots of people are scared of snakes. And so they were like, and I was talking to them, and I was like, I've held a snake, you know? And they were like, you know, in Spanish, they were like, really? And I was like, yeah. And so I told them I had held a snake like this, thank you, this big, and that they were like totally blown away. They were like,
something that I loved about this trip that I don't want to forget is we all went and did a prayer walk all around the community, and whenever we did that, we were praying for different people, and this man saw us praying and just reached out to us and said, hey, can you please pray for me? I need healing. And we all got to just turn around and go over there and pray for him, and just seeing his desperation and trust in the Lord that prayer does do something was just awesome to see.
So one impactful thing that happened to us is we went on a prayer walk, and quite honestly, I don't do many prayer walks in the U.S. or anywhere. And we went as a group, and it seemed like God wanted every person to just be responsive to communication and prayer. We got a drink at a convenience store, and we asked if we could pray, and he said yes. So we had a boy. He told us that his dad was injured. We prayed for him. He met some elderly folks in their house, and we prayed for them. And then we met a baseball team. They wanted us to pray for them in their season. And I think this is something that opened my eyes to saying, people want to be thought about, they want to be prayed for. It doesn't have to be so formal, and it's almost always welcome.
One thing about this trip that really stuck with me was Tuesday when we did some worship at Macarius. The worship team sang "Oh Come to the Altar," and it was kind of a moment where languages were blending, and previously everyone was chatting and it didn't seem like they were too interested in what we were doing, and just in that one song everyone kind of locked in and started paying attention, and it was just kind of a beautiful moment of like what heaven might be like one day with languages mixing, and it just sounded really good, and it just stuck with me.
Yeah, it's been surprising to see how many times the details would just line up. For instance, just randomly organized one day who goes to which prayer group to go to which home, just randomly pieced together, and we have a person who grew up with a single mom, and she walks into a home of a single mom who is just overwhelmed with the burden and the struggle trying to find work and provide for her kids, and for one of our team members to be able to look at them and say, my single mom poured into us, and you are doing such a good job, and to watch the tears just flow out of her face from the encouragement and the peace. God is always in the midst of working. and we just show up to get to join him in what he's doing. Like, we are not doing the work.
Right.
We're just showing up to join him and to tell people this gift we have.
So something that challenged me and revealed God's character, I'm stealing a little bit of this from Brad, is that when we come and we see, how little some families have and how much they're recovering from the flood and the devastation, and how they can find joy in everything they have, God looks at us the same way. It says, look at how little you have. The kingdom of heaven is so much bigger. And he looks at us in the same eye, saying, there's so much more out there, stuff. Have joy with what you have. I came from heaven, and I'm looking at you, and I'm saying that when we go into a small house that's recovered from a flood, he sees the same thing he sees.
Not taking what we have for granted, because as Americans, we're beyond blessed, and just coming here and getting a big glimpse on the culture, it definitely would change me to see what I could do different back in the States,
I feel like something that really challenged me on this trip was the fact that I'm a very introverted person and I hate socializing, at all. Going to this trip, I was still very nervous because I knew there were times that I had to be talking with people and I can't speak Spanish. And so I was like, the language barrier mixed with my personality, and this isn't gonna work. But I feel like after I kind of forgot I was supposed to be actually introverted or trying not to be socialized or closed off, I just kind of ended up warming up to all these kids and constantly being with them and playing with them and trying to learn a little bit of Spanish to communicate. Love Rosita.
Love her!
It was just really cool to see me kind of flip personalities to talk to these kids.
Something that challenged me that I wasn't, expecting was how much kind of spiritual warfare I was gonna have to kind of experience when wanting to talk about that. I think that just sharing the good news is obviously such a good thing and something that the devil does not want, but yet God was still, I think, glorified through conversation, and through dependence on his spirit was still kind of able to find a way to kind of bring him into conversation.
I think the Lord really reminded me how significant prayer is in preparing not just for an event, but our moments, our conversations, the way in which we go about loving people, the way in which we go about doing the work he has before us. Prayer is what humbles me and softens me and allows the Spirit to lead me versus the things in which I think are the right things or the right answers. And prayer allows me to see the things that God sees as being important.
This is One Day Closer, and we're in the Dominican Republic.
You deserve